Welcome to the campaign strategy section of my Tomb Kings guide. In this section, I will go over the campaign gameplay of the Tomb Kings, including the start and location and expansion options, unique effects and gameplay features, and the overall pros and cons. Disclaimer, this guide is based on my personal experience and opinions and is by no means the definitive way to play the game Immortal Empires. If you have a different strategy or want to add something to mine, please leave a comment down below. Now that's out of the way, let's get into the video. The Tomb King campaign is one that starts off quite weak and poor before coming into its own in the endgame. They start off with one of the worst economies in the game, but as the campaign progresses, their lack of army upkeep makes them into one of the most dangerous and easy to maintain races on the map. That being said, they never really got rich, rather just stable with steady money coming in. To make sure they aren't too overpowered, they are limited in their recruitment, both in the kind of units and the speed they can recruit them. Instead of just unlocking the units, their military buildings simply increase the capacity for them, meaning you can only have as many elite units as you do of buildings to supply them. They also have very limited recruitment capacity, meaning it can take quite a number of turns to recruit full armies, resulting in casualties of war being crippling. Fortunately, their global recruitment can help them out massively, especially once upgraded with research to reduce recruit times. They have many unique effects such as the Canopic Jars, Books of Nagash and Great Pyramids, which give them insane bonuses for both campaign and battle if used correctly. It is worth noting that the Books of Nagash spawn across the entire map, so depending on the faction, it could be near impossible to collect them all without sending armies roaming the entire map. I also noticed that my public order was rarely an issue, even when expanding rapidly, meaning war was quite a breeze since I could just focus on where to go. A final thing to note is that their short victory condition was quite easy to achieve compared to some other factions, so if you're looking for a shorter game, they might be for you. When playing as the Tomb Kings, you get the choice of 4 legendary lords, each with their own faction and each one playing at least a little bit differently. I'll cover the individual lord effects in their own video and the individual factions later in this one, but for now I'll go over my experience with the Court of Liberas, since it was the faction I played for this guide as voted for by the Discord. They start out in Liberas and are one of the few factions to have their capital not in the capital of the province. The initial war against Lamia wasn't too difficult, and I managed to complete my province before turn 20 and completely wipe them out by turn 26. After that was taken care of, the most obvious next target was the lizards to the south, but before I could go after them, I had to make sure Queek wouldn't backdoor me from the mountains. I got a non-aggression pact with him and set off to the Southlands versus the 2 lizard factions. After a lot of army management, I managed to take all but one of their settlements, which was taken by a rogue orc faction. Before they had the chance to recover from the victory, I pushed the attack and took them out, and in doing so, completed my takeover of the southeast corner of the map. Now that was taken care of, it was time to get into the desert, and only Queek sat in my way. I broke all my treaties with him and set about invading his mountain pass, which would prove to be one of the 2 major annoyances in the campaign. There was a lot of back and forth of taking each of the settlements and armies via honourable battles on my side and cowardly ambushes on his, but in the end, I managed to push him back to his capital settlement with nowhere to run. Just as I was about to take him out, he was confederated by Snitch, meaning I now had my way blocked by a whole new faction with 20 plus settlements and who knows how many armies. Naturally, I ran headfirst into a war that would go on to last the next 50 turns and would severely decrease my progress and increase my blood pressure. Oh my god! It was a lot of back and forth in the mountain settlements to the north, but eventually I managed to beat him back enough times that he realised it wasn't worth it and accepted my peace offering. Over the course of this war, I'd managed to get a decent foothold set up in the desert, meaning I was poised to invade anything that wasn't a Skelly Boy, and befriend anything that was. My first target was Suddenburg, seen as they held a settlement in one of my regions, and also had access to a couple of trade resources that would help me out in the mortuary cult. It didn't take long to take him out, and once I had, I could surround the sentinels enough that I was able to take control of the Black Pyramid of Nagash. Just after this happened, I managed to get a confederation with the Rakath dynasty, which opened a clear route for me to get to the Bretonnian settlements I needed for the short victory. I started pouring all my gold into building pyramids to get to the threshold, and sent out my armies to take over the regions I needed to win, and then waited for everything to finish building, and before I knew it, I had my victory.
Oh, what's this? Is this a sponsor spot? I think it is. Do you have a very long commute or a boring workplace with loose headphone policies? Do you enjoy books but you have neither the time nor the energy to turn the page every single time? If so, then Audible is exactly what you need. It has the largest library of audiobooks, shows and dramas in the entire world. It is read by some of the sexiest voices in the world. Voices like Sir Stephen Fry, voices like Morgan Freeman, and voices like Jeremy Irons. But you may be wondering, how does this all actually work? I'm glad you asked. When you become a member, you get 1 credit a month which you can spend on any audiobook in the entire library, and that is yours to listen to. Alongside this, you get free access to audio shows and dramas, which are again added to Audible every single month. You can also purchase additional books every month if you want, and members get up to 60% discount, obviously dependent on the book. You may also be thinking, what if I buy a book that I don't like? Well, in that case, as long as you're still a member, you can trade in any book, anytime, for free, so you never ever have to worry about getting something that you don't want to listen to and being stuck with it forever. You may also be thinking, well, I don't have the internet at work or on my commute. Well, that's just fine. With Audible, you can download offline and listen to it literally anywhere. They have the app, and it also has a car mode, which makes it much easier to control while driving, even though you shouldn't do it while driving, get a passenger to do that, but if you have to, it's there. And finally, you may be thinking, what if I don't have enough time to listen to 1 book a month? Well, that's just fine. You can cancel your subscription anytime and you keep your books for life. So if you start your membership, get a book, and then immediately cancel your membership after you've bought that book, you will still have access to that book forever and ever to listen to as many times as you want. Unfortunately, you won't be able to trade in, you won't get any of the audio shows, you won't get the discounts, and you won't get any more credits. But you do get that book forever, so that's a pretty good deal. And of course, you can just start your subscription again whenever you want. The book I've enjoyed most over my entire time with Audible has to be Mythos, read by Stephen Fry. It is a retelling of the ancient story of the Greek gods. It goes all the way from how they were created, from the Titans, all the way to how the gods created modern men. And it's such an interesting, modern, fun read. You get to learn who Zeus did it with, who did it with Zeus, and what Zeus did it with. There's a lot of Zeus doing things with things. It's kind of disgusting, but it's a great listen. If you're not into that, then there is a huge library of every single thing that you could possibly want. There is motivational books, there's history books, there's facts, there's fiction, there's science fiction, there's probably some erotic books out there if that's what you're into. There is also a lot of Warhammer stuff. I'm currently listening to Ghoulslayer of the Gottrick and Felix, or the Gottrick Gurnison series, and it is a fantastic listen. It's a great audio drama with all the other characters, each individually voiced, telling a great story with loads of drama and action. It's great. So if all this sounds like something you're into, then please do head down to the description. There are 2 options because I don't have an actual code yet. You can either go for the free trial, which will get you 1 book which you can keep for life, which is completely free, or you can go for the 3-month 50% discount. So what that means is for your first 3 months, you'll only pay $3.99 per month. That is just over a 50% discount for those first 3 months. After those 3 months, it will go back to the normal price however. So if you just want those first 3 months, then you'll have to keep an eye on it. It helps the channel, and you get access to some great quality entertainment, so what is there not to love? Okay, now back to your regularly scheduled content.
I'll now go over the starting location, expansion options, climate preferences, and unique effects of the factions. Khemri start at Khemri and have the climate preferences of wasteland, savanna and desert being suitable, temperate, mountain, jungle and temperate island being unpleasant, and frozen, ocean, chaos wasteland and magical forest being uninhabitable. They have no unique effects, but as far as expansion goes, they are one of the best. Any direction will offer plentiful lands, so it's really down to what you want to achieve in your campaign. To the west is more desert controlled by the Bretonnians, Lizardmen and Arkan. To the east are rats and Tomb Kings and eventually some lizards if you dare to enter the jungle. To the south are Suddenberg and Tomb Kings, and to the north are orcs, basically all the way up until the Border Princes. The Court of Liberas start at Liberas and have the same climate preferences with the exception of jungle being suitable. They have no other unique effects, and also have pretty good expansion options. To the south are the lizards and an orc tribe, which make for pretty easy early game pickings. To the north is Snitch, which could provide some plentiful lands as long as you're willing to bash your head against the wall to attack Skaven. To the east is a lot of desert, and my recommendation for the best option since it holds all of the Great Pyramids and some great lands and resources too. You will have a number of enemies and allies to contend with, but none of them will provide too much resistance, so it's for sure the best option. The followers of Nagash start with 2 provinces, Wizard Caliph's Palace and Sorceress Sands, and have the same climate preferences as Khemri. They have access to some of the units from the Vampire Count roster, take no public order penalty from vampiric corruption, and are hated by most of the other Tomb Kings, so will need to war rather than confederate. Since they also start in the same desert as the last 2 factions, the expansion options are again quite similar. To the north are some Bretonnians and then the ocean. To the east is basically everything you want to acquire in the game since it's the main desert where the pyramids and Tomb King's homelands are, and once you get east enough you can head north up until the Border Princes. Finally, we come to the Exiles of Nehek, who start at the Plain of Spiders. They have these same climate preferences with the exception of mountain being suitable and frozen being unpleasant. They have no other unique effects and their expansion options are a little more challenging. The only choice they have for suitable settlements are to take on the Dark Elf factions to the north, but even then they will quickly run out once they get to the frozen north. Other than that, their only options are to go further north or south and make slower progress, or to send a force down to the desert in the southeast to make a foothold there. Now we come to the commandments, which are the same no matter which faction you're playing. Worship of Fakath grants minus 10% construction costs for all buildings and plus 5% tax rate. Worship of Jaff grants +1 recruit rank for all units and +20% replenishment. Worship of Khazar grants +5 melee defense and +15 ambush chance. Worship of Asaph grants +5 public order and +2 untainted. And finally, Worship of Petra grants +10% campaign move range for armies starting in the province and +25 growth. If you want to know which commandments should be used when, I have a video explaining all of that linked in the card. The Tomb Kings also have access to 4 rights. Great Incantation of Tahoth costs 5,000 gold, has a 15 turn cooldown and a 5 turn duration. It grants 1 Casket of Souls to the recruitment pool, +3 Lord recruit rank and +2 normal unit recruit rank, both faction wide. Great Incantation of Petra costs 4,000 gold, has a 25 turn cooldown and spawns a unique Necrotect at the faction capital that can instantly colonize some ruins up to level 3. Great Incantation of Khazar costs 3,000 gold, has a 20 turn cooldown and a 5 turn duration, and causes all regions you own to be hit by a sandstorm which causes attrition to foreign armies, and grants your armies immunity to said attrition, +50% ambush chance and the sand veil ability in battles. Finally, the Great Incantation of Geheb costs 2,000 gold, has a 25 turn cooldown and a 10 turn duration. It grants 1 Canopic Jar per turn, +30% growth in all provinces, -25% construction time for all buildings, and the ability Tomb Swarm in battles. The research tree of the Tomb Kings works a little differently from most factions. The majority is separated into dynasties, and each dynasty unlocked grants you access to research projects for unique immortal lords with powerful faction effects, a major research project that costs 5,000 gold, 3 research options that improve units, and 3 options that unlock heroes, +1 army capacity, and -30% to the research rate. There is also the Herald's Empowered tree, which is separate and unlocks unique and powerful followers for your characters, +1 army capacity, -1 global recruit time for all units, and +3 global recruit capacity. You should choose the projects that make the most sense to you and your playstyle, but personally, I base my decisions on the immortal lords you get since they can be crazy powerful, and the global recruitment upgrades are also pretty top tier. Finally, we come to all the things that are unique to the Tomb Kings. In certain settlements, you have access to Great Pyramids, which are buildings that grant some very powerful bonuses to the entire faction at the cost of a lot of gold. It would take far too long to list all the effects, but I'll put them on screen while I read the pyramids and their locations off. The Pyramid of Prince Tutankhamun is located in Numas. The Pyramid of King Far is located in Qatar. The Pyramid of King Al-Qadizar is located in Bagar. The Pyramid of Amenemhetum is located in Zandri. The Great Pyramid of Setra is located in Kemri. And finally, the Vault of Nagash is located in the Black Pyramid of Nagash. Worth noting is that you need to own at least 5 of them in order to achieve the short victory. Canopic Jars are a unique currency that all Tomb Kings get access to, and it can be used for many things. It can be spent in the Mortuary Cult to acquire items for your characters as well as units, and increases to your army capacity. That is, the capacity of armies, not the number of units in your armies. They can also be consumed via research as well as some events that happen over the course of the campaign to improve different aspects of your faction. You can get them through many methods such as character skills, post-battle loot, and post-battle options, post-settlement battle options, and completing quests. They also have access to the 8 Books of Nagash, which are spread across the map and can be won by taking certain settlements or by fighting certain armies. Again, it would take me far too long to read off every single book, so I'll throw them all on screen now and you can pause to read them. But in my opinion, it's worth picking up every single one that you can, since they can really propel your faction into space if you manage to get the right ones. It is worth noting, however, that they do spawn all over the map, and some of them can move, so it can obviously be quite difficult to collect them all without sending armies roaming the entire map, which is obviously a bit of a hassle. Finally, we come to the Realm of Souls, which is technically to do with battle, but we'll cover it here anyway. Once your army takes a certain amount of casualties, you get bonuses in the form of 3 tiers of replenishment, each lasting longer than the last. And finally, the ability to summon a unity with Shapti, which can really help turn the tide. But in my experience, more often than not, if it gets to that point and you're already losing, then the chances of you being saved are quite slim. That concludes this section of the guide on campaign strategy. The next section will cover the unit roster and how I believe each unit is best used, so stay tuned for that. Don't forget to vote on the poll for the next race you want me to make a guide for, which is linked in the description and the comments. If you want to check out the other parts of this or any other guide, there's a link in the card and in the description to the playlist for my series. If you enjoyed this video at any point, then please do consider leaving it a like, as it really does help out a lot. And if you want to see more of this type of video, maybe click that subscribe button so you stay up to date. After all, it is free. For now though, I was COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I'll see you next turn.